You don't need someone to tell you to push. You don't need music to hype you up or cameras to record your grind. You need command. You need self-control that doesn't collapse when life gets heavy. You need a reason that lives inside you, not around you. Because the dedicated alpha doesn't move when it feels right. He moves when it's required. His discipline isn't loud, it's silent. His effort isn't emotional, it's structured. He doesn't skip, doesn't settle, doesn't surrender. Every rep he lifts is proof that he's governed by something greater, by his word, by his will, by his purpose. The world respects power, but the dedicated alpha respects control. He's not chasing the image of strength, he's building the reality of it. He knows every morning is a test. Will you serve your weakness or your discipline? That's why he trains like a soldier of purpose, not to show off, but to show up. Every time he walks through those gym doors, he enters a battlefield between who he is and who he's becoming. And he fights to win quietly, relentlessly, completely. When the weights feel heavy, when the schedule feels exhausting, when the results seem slow, the dedicated alpha remembers why he started. He doesn't chase comfort, he chases control. He doesn't beg for motivation, he builds it through repetition. Because the man who can command his body to move when his mind wants rest, that man is dangerous, that man is unstoppable. The dedicated alpha doesn't talk about consistency, he lives it. He knows that discipline is the highest form of strength. It's not about being the biggest in the room. It's about being the most consistent one in the fight. The mission doesn't end when the workout ends. It continues in the choices, the habits, and the standards he sets daily. He works not for recognition but for refinement. Every drop of sweat is a silent prayer that says, I'm still here, I'm still fighting, I'm still becoming. Because the dedicated alpha doesn't quit, he evolves, he adapts, and he works harder. Always harder. Discipline is the backbone of every transformation. It's the invisible force that separates the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the achievers. When you walk into the gym, it's not about how much weight you lift. It's about how consistently you show up. A dedicated alpha understands that results are not born from occasional effort. They come from daily commitment. Every sunrise becomes a reminder that another chance has been given to prove your dedication, not to anyone else but to yourself. There are days when you'll wake up tired, unmotivated, and even frustrated. Those are the days that define you. When your mind says rest and your purpose says rise, that's the moment when greatness begins. Mastering the routine means mastering yourself, your emotions, your excuses, your comfort zone. You train not because you feel like it, but because you promised yourself that you would. And when a man keeps his promise to himself, he becomes unstoppable. Consistency is not glamorous. It's repetitive, it's tough, and it's quiet. But within that repetition lies the secret to greatness. When others are chasing new routines and quick fixes, the dedicated alpha sticks to the basics and perfects them. He knows that excellence is not in changing directions every week. It's in doing the right thing every day until it becomes natural. The push-ups, the squats, the meals, they become habits, and those habits become your foundation. Every day you show up, your body listens, your mind adapts, and your spirit strengthens. You begin to notice how small efforts compound into visible change. The mirror doesn't lie, but it doesn't speak quickly either. It only reflects patience, and patience is built through repetition. You learn that your workout isn't about proving something in one session. It's about building something over time. Every rep is a brick. and every session is another layer in the wall of your strength. Mastering the routine means you no longer argue with yourself about whether you should train today or not. The decision has already been made. You are no longer a servant to feelings, you are a servant to purpose. You wake up and move because movement is who you are. You lift not to impress, but to progress. You eat clean, not because of a diet trend, but because you respect the machine your creator blessed you with. That's mastery, when what was once a struggle becomes your nature. The dedicated alpha doesn't chase motivation, he manufactures it through action. He understands that the hardest part of the workout is not the last rep, it's the first step out of bed. But once that step is taken, momentum follows. The rhythm of consistency becomes like heartbeat, steady, powerful, reliable. And as the body starts to obey the mind, life itself begins to shift. Strength in the gym spills into strength in every other area of life. You start to realize that mastering the routine in fitness teaches you to master discipline in all things. When you can control your schedule, your sleep, your diet, and your effort, you can control your destiny. You learn that laziness is a habit, but so is discipline, and whichever one you repeat more becomes your identity. So you choose discipline day after day until it becomes who you are. Even on the days you fail, you don't give up. You don't quit because one day didn't go as planned. You reset and return stronger. The dedicated alpha understands that mastery doesn't mean perfection, it means persistence. You fall 7 times, but you rise 8. Because every failure, every missed rep, every tired morning is part of the process that molds you into someone unbreakable. And as weeks turn into months, something changes not just in your body, but in your mindset. You stop counting how many days you've trained, because it's no longer an option, it's a lifestyle. The routine becomes sacred. It becomes a form of discipline that shapes your character more than your muscles. You begin to crave progress, not comfort. You begin to feel alive in the struggle, focused in the repetition, and proud in the silence of your effort. Mastering the routine means you no longer wait for a perfect day, because every day is a chance to grow stronger. You understand that your worth is not measured by motivation, but by consistency. The dedicated alpha lives by the principle that if he said he will do something, he will do it, no matter how he feels. Because in the end, strength doesn't start in the body, it starts in the heart, built one disciplined day at a time. Progress doesn't happen in a moment, it unfolds over time. Every rep, every stretch, every meal you control, it's all part of a process that cannot be rushed. The dedicated alpha knows that true transformation requires patience and faith. You can't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. Growth takes time, and so does strength. The process isn't meant to be fast, it's meant to be meaningful. The longer it takes, the deeper the roots of discipline grow within you. In the beginning, the changes are almost invisible. You look in the mirror, and it feels like nothing's happening. But deep inside, your body is adapting, your muscles are learning, and your mindset is hardening. This invisible growth is what separates the ordinary from the committed. You have to trust that even when you can't see progress, your effort is not being wasted. Respecting the process means believing in the unseen, knowing that every ounce of sweat is building something powerful within you. Impatience is what destroys many before they even begin to succeed. They want results in days, but real strength is earned in seasons. The dedicated alpha doesn't chase shortcuts because he knows shortcuts cut character. Every slow, painful session is a lesson in humility and perseverance. You're not in competition with time, you're in cooperation with it. You work with the process, not against it. You give it your energy, your patience, your focus, and it gives you transformation in return. When you respect the process, you start to understand that the journey itself is the reward. Every morning that you fight the urge to sleep in, every time you push through fatigue, you're building not just muscle but mindset. You learn to find beauty in the grind because you realize it's not just about reaching a goal. It's about becoming someone capable of achieving it. The process refines you. It strips away weakness and replaces it with resilience. There will be moments when you feel stuck. The scale won't move, the mirror won't change, and your strength will seem to stay the same. Those moments test your faith. That's when the dedicated alpha digs deeper, because he understands that plateaus are not the end, they're checkpoints. The body resists change before it accepts it, and that resistance is the signal that something powerful is about to happen if you stay consistent long enough to see it. Respecting the process also means respecting your recovery. Many think more is always better, but true mastery knows when to push and when to
12
rest.
on incline dumbbells.
The body grows when it heals, not just when it works. The dedicated alpha takes rest as seriously as training, not out of laziness, but out of wisdom. He listens to his body, nourishes it with clean fuel, hydrates, sleeps, and resets. This balance is what keeps the process sustainable, turning short, turning effort into lifelong strength.
Just getting as much blood as possible into the
you're
chest.
sending
Nice,
a
full,
message
thick,
to your
dense
future
chest.
self.
Yeah, the pump
You're
is massive.
saying,
It's a massive,
I'm not
massive
giving
pump.
up on you.
It's
That's
a
why
tough,
every
tough
small
workout.
effort matters. Skipping a workout, neglecting a meal, or losing focus may seem minor, but it weakens the bond between who you are and who you want to be. Respecting the process means respecting that bond, understanding that your consistency today determines your condition tomorrow. The dedicated alpha moves with purpose because he knows that every choice counts. Sometimes, respecting the process means staying humble in victory. When results start showing, when strength increases, when compliments come, you don't let pride blind you. You remember how far you've come and how much farther there is to go. You don't let success distract you from progress. The process doesn't end when the mirror starts reflecting change. That's just the beginning of a new level of dedication. Growth has no finish line. As you continue, you start to notice that patience becomes power. You no longer seek quick results because you've learned to love the journey itself. You find satisfaction in effort, peace in persistence, and strength in waiting. Every workout becomes a form of gratitude, a way of saying thank you to the one who gave you the ability to move, to lift, to endure. The process becomes more than physical. It becomes spiritual. Respecting the process means knowing that everything worth having requires effort, time, and trust. You may not see progress every day, but you feel it in your endurance, your discipline, your clarity. The dedicated alpha doesn't rush the outcome. He refines the journey. Because true fitness isn't built in a week or a month. It's built in a lifetime of consistent, patient effort guided by faith, fueled by purpose, and anchored in respect for the process itself. Pain is the most misunderstood teacher in the gym and in life. Most people run from it, fear it, or complain about it, but the dedicated alpha learns to embrace it. Because pain isn't there to destroy you, it's there to develop you. Every ache, every burn, every sore muscle is proof that you are alive, that you are fighting, that you are moving closer to the version of yourself that you were meant to become. Pain refines the weak and defines the strong. It speaks a language only the disciplined can understand, a language that says, keep going, you're growing. When you train, that burning sensation in your muscles is not a punishment. It's your body adapting to a higher level of demand. It's your Creator's design for growth through resistance. Just like metal is strengthened through fire, your body and spirit are strengthened through struggle. Every rep that hurts is a message saying you're stepping beyond your limits. The dedicated alpha doesn't curse that pain, he welcomes it. Because he knows pain is not a wall, it's a doorway, and only those willing to walk through it will ever reach greatness. Pain is not your enemy, comfort is. Comfort whispers lies. It tells you to rest when you should rise, to quit when you should fight, to give up when you're close to the breakthrough. The dedicated alpha understands that comfort keeps a man average, but pain pushes a man toward mastery. That's why he trains with focus, not frustration. He doesn't view the struggle as suffering, he views it as shaping. Every drop of sweat becomes a badge of honor, a silent reminder that he's chosen the harder path because that's where growth lies. When the weight feels too heavy, when your arms tremble and your breath shortens, that's when you meet your real self. In those moments of pain, there's no pretending, there's no mask. There's only truth, and truth builds strength. Pain strips away weakness and forces you to face what's left. You learn more about yourself in one difficult set than in 100 easy ones. Because pain teaches endurance, patience, and respect for your own limits, and how to break them one by one. The dedicated alpha doesn't search for shortcuts to avoid discomfort. He knows that the path to greatness is paved with resistance. Just like the strongest trees grow against the wind, he grows against pressure. Pain trains not only the muscles, but also the mind. When your body screams to stop and your mind whispers one more rep, that's when your spirit takes command. And when the spirit leads, the body follows. That's the moment when you rise above mediocrity. Pain also humbles you. It reminds you that strength doesn't come easy, that every bit of progress is earned. It reminds you that success is not a gift, it's a result. Through pain, you remember that you are human, that effort matters, and that progress requires patience. It keeps you grounded. The dedicated alpha never allows pain to make him bitter. He allows it to make him better. Because he knows the one who endures pain with purpose gains power that can't be measured in muscle alone. Every time you feel pain in your training, you have a choice to run or to rise. Most people run. They take days off. They make excuses. They lower their standards. But the dedicated alpha rises. He uses pain as fuel. He channels it into his next set, his next lift, his next step. He turns pain into energy and energy into progress. He doesn't fear soreness, he fears stagnation. Because the absence of pain means the absence of growth. Pain also brings clarity. It quiets the noise around you and focuses your mind. When you're in the middle of a tough set, there's no room for distraction, only determination. In pain, you find presence. You're no longer thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. You're completely alive in the moment. That's the gift hidden inside the grind, pure focus, pure effort, pure awareness. The dedicated alpha learns to live in that space, where pain and progress meet. There's a kind of beauty in enduring pain with purpose. It transforms not just your body, but your soul. You start to see struggle differently, not as a curse, but as a blessing in disguise. Because pain builds appreciation. It makes you value every bit of progress, every ounce of strength. Every day you wake up able to train again. Pain reminds you that growth has a cost, and that cost must be paid with effort, not excuses. To the dedicated alpha, pain is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to start paying attention. It teaches discipline, it teaches humility, and it teaches endurance. The ones who embrace it become unshakable. They stop fearing the burn because they understand that pain is simply the price of evolution. It's the sound of weakness leaving your body, the voice of progress whispering, "You're becoming stronger." And that's why, for the dedicated alpha, pain will never be the enemy, it will always be the guide. Humility is the mark of true strength. The dedicated alpha knows that greatness is never loud, it's silent, focused, and consistent. The ones who truly achieve something remarkable don't walk around showing it off, they walk around improving it. Staying humble doesn't mean you think less of yourself, it means you recognize that strength is a trust, a blessing, and a responsibility. The moment arrogance enters, growth stops, because arrogance tells you you've arrived, while humility reminds you there's always another level to reach. When you train with humility, you don't compare yourself to others. You compare yourself to your past self. Every lift, every run, every set becomes a conversation between who you were and who you're becoming. You respect others in the gym because you understand that everyone's fighting a battle you can't see. The dedicated alpha doesn't mock, doesn't boast, doesn't look down, he leads through example. His silence speaks louder than others shouting because his focus is deeper, his purpose purer. Staying humble also means staying teachable. No matter how strong you get, there's always something to learn. A new technique, a smarter recovery method, a wiser approach to nutrition. The humble man stays open to improvement. The arrogant man thinks he knows it all and stops growing. The dedicated alpha understands that mastery is a lifelong pursuit. He learns from experience, from failure, from observation. Every mistake becomes a teacher, every challenge a lesson, every day another chance to grow. But humility alone isn't enough, you must stay hungry too. Hunger is the fire that keeps your spirit alive when the results start showing. Because the truth is, success can be more dangerous than failure if you let it make you comfortable. Once you start seeing progress, your mind whispers you've done enough. That's where most people lose their edge. The dedicated alpha refuses to settle. He doesn't train to maintain, he trains to evolve. His hunger for growth never fades because he's not chasing fame, he's chasing fulfillment. When you stay hungry, you never allow achievements to slow you down. You may have added weight to your lifts, gained muscle, built endurance, but deep inside, you remind yourself that this is only the beginning. You realize that physical strength is temporary unless it's supported by mental and spiritual strength. So you keep pushing, you keep learning, you keep chasing the version of yourself that still exists beyond today's limits. Hunger turns effort into excellence. Humility and hunger work together like balance and power. One without the other creates imbalance. If you're humble but not hungry, you stop striving. If you're hungry but not humble, you lose your purpose. The dedicated alpha walks the line between the two, grounded in gratitude, but driven by vision. He remembers that his strength comes from effort, but his ability to make that effort is a blessing from the one who gave him life. That understanding keeps his ambition clean and his actions meaningful. In the gym, you can feel the difference between the humble and the arrogant. The arrogant one lifts for attention, looks for eyes to impress, and speaks louder than his progress. The humble one trains in silence, focuses on form, and respects the process. He doesn't need validation because his satisfaction comes from self-improvement. His results speak for him, and his consistency silences doubt. The dedicated alpha doesn't need to prove anything, he just keeps showing up. Staying humble also builds lasting strength because it frees you from ego. Ego adds weight to your mind that's heavier than any barbell. It blinds you to your weaknesses and makes you careless. Humility, on the other hand, keeps you clear-headed. You know when to push and when to pull back. You know that rest doesn't make you weak, and asking for guidance doesn't make you lesser. Humility allows growth because it keeps the door open to wisdom, correction, and self-awareness. Hunger gives you direction when fatigue tries to break you. On the days you feel tired, on the days you feel like skipping the gym, that inner hunger whispers, keep going. It reminds you of your goals, your discipline, your purpose. It fuels you when motivation fades. Hunger is not greed, it's purpose-driven energy. It's the constant desire to be better, not for praise, but for self-respect. The dedicated alpha feeds that hunger daily with commitment, consistency, and courage. When humility and hunger coexist, they create a balance that keeps you progressing with purity. You stay humble enough to appreciate every small win, but hungry enough to chase the next one. You train hard, you stay grounded, and you never let success blind you. The dedicated alpha doesn't lift to be superior, he lifts to be disciplined. He doesn't train for applause, he trains for progress, because he knows that as long as he remains humble and hungry, he will never stop growing in body, in mind, and in strength. Your body is the vehicle that carries your purpose, and your mind is the driver that steers it. The dedicated alpha understands that strength is built not only through what you lift, but also through what you consume physically and mentally. Every bite of food and every thought you entertain either builds you or breaks you. Fueling your body with clean food and your mind with pure thoughts is not vanity, it's gratitude. It's how you honor the gift of health you've been given. You treat your body like a trust, not a tool. When you step into the gym, you're not just burning calories, you're refining your character. But that process cannot happen if your body is weak and your mind is cluttered. What you eat becomes your energy, and what you think becomes your direction. The dedicated alpha doesn't eat just to satisfy hunger. He eats to strengthen performance. He chooses food that supports his purpose, not food that feeds his cravings, because he knows that discipline at the table is just as important as discipline under the bar. Fueling your body means respecting it. It means giving it the nutrients it needs to perform at its best, not poisoning it with things that weaken it. You don't need extremes, you need balance. You eat clean, you stay hydrated, you sleep enough, and you keep your system in harmony. The dedicated alpha knows that every plate of food is either progress or setback. He doesn't eat emotionally, he eats intentionally. Because what goes in will show in energy, endurance, and focus. But it's not just the body that needs nourishment, the mind does too. Feeding your mind is what keeps you grounded and growing. The same way junk food slows your body, negative thoughts and toxic influences slow your progress. The dedicated alpha filters what he allows into his thoughts. He avoids gossip, negativity, and distraction because he knows that focus is his greatest fuel. He surrounds himself with positivity, knowledge, and faith because that's what keeps his inner fire burning. A strong body without a disciplined mind is like a sword without a handle, sharp but dangerous to the one holding it. The dedicated alpha understands that mental clarity leads to physical power. He starts his day with purpose, not confusion. He sets his intentions before he touches the weights. His body follows the instructions his mind gives it, and his mind follows the principles his faith instills in it. When the mind is aligned, the body becomes unstoppable. Feeding your mind means constantly learning, reading, listening, reflecting. Growth doesn't stop outside the gym walls. The same hunger that drives you to train should drive you to learn. You study your craft, you learn from others, and you expand your understanding. You learn about training, nutrition, recovery, but also about patience, humility, and purpose. The dedicated alpha doesn't just grow muscles. He grows wisdom, because physical power fades, but wisdom keeps a man strong for life. When your mind is filled with clarity and your body is fueled with quality, your training becomes more than exercise, it becomes worship in motion. Every rep becomes a form of gratitude, every lift a statement of discipline. You start to feel that your effort is not just about appearance, it's about honoring the body you've been blessed with. You eat clean not because of vanity, but because you respect yourself enough to care for what was entrusted to you. That mindset changes everything. A well-fed mind doesn't break easily. When challenges come, when pain hits, when results delay, a strong mind stays calm. It reminds you why you started, it reminds you who you are, and it reminds you that every effort matters. The dedicated alpha uses his thoughts as armor. He doesn't let doubt take root because he keeps his mind nourished with truth, focus, and faith. The right mindset transforms struggle into strength and obstacles into opportunities. The discipline of feeding your body and mind also creates alignment. You no longer live in conflict with yourself. Your actions match your intentions. Your habits match your goals, and your energy matches your mission. You begin to feel a quiet balance, strength without arrogance, effort without exhaustion. That's when fitness becomes a lifestyle, not a phase. Because the same rules that keep your body strong keep your mind sharp. Consistency, control, and care. The dedicated alpha doesn't chase perfection, he chases alignment. He fuels his body with what keeps it strong, and he feeds his mind with what keeps it steady. He understands that muscles alone don't make a man powerful, discipline does. And discipline starts with what you consume daily, both in your meals and in your thoughts. Because when your body and mind are fueled the right way, your purpose becomes clear, your energy becomes pure, and your progress becomes unstoppable. A dedicated alpha treats his fitness journey with the precision of a soldier on a mission. He doesn't walk into the gym without a plan, he walks in with purpose. Tracking progress is not vanity, it's strategy. It's how you measure discipline, not just results. Every rep, every meal, every hour of sleep counts. The same way, a soldier studies every move to win a battle. The dedicated alpha studies every part of his training to win over his old self. Without tracking, you're just moving. With tracking, you're advancing. When you track your progress, you begin to see patterns, what fuels you, what slows you, what breaks you, and what builds you. You learn that success in fitness is not random, it's designed, it's built through awareness and adjustment. The dedicated alpha doesn't leave his growth to chance, he measures it. He notes how much he lifted last week, how well he slept, how he felt during each workout. These small details form a map of improvement, a guide that shows where to push harder and where to recover smarter. Tracking progress gives you accountability. It keeps you honest when your mind tries to make excuses. You can't lie to numbers. You can't argue with results on paper. When you see your lifts going up or your endurance increasing, you build confidence. And when progress stalls, you don't panic, you analyze. You look at your notes, your habits, your patterns. You adjust instead of quitting. That's what separates the dedicated alpha from the average lifter. Discipline through data. Just like a soldier logs every mission to refine strategy, you log every session to refine strength. You write down the weights, the sets, the reps, the feeling. You track your food, your water, your recovery. You observe how your body responds, how your mind adapts, and how your energy flows. This isn't obsession, it's awareness. Awareness turns training into mastery, because what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed grows stronger. Tracking also builds momentum. When you see improvement, even small ones, your drive multiplies. You begin to respect your effort more. You realize that consistency creates visible proof of progress. Those numbers in your logbook are more than data. They're reminders of discipline. They're proof that you're showing up, that you're not the same person you were yesterday. And that feeling, that quiet acknowledgement of growth, becomes fuel that no external motivation can replace. Sometimes the progress you track won't be physical, it will be mental. You'll notice how your focus improves, how your patience grows, how your self-control strengthens. You'll realize that the body was only half the journey. The real battle was in the mind. The dedicated alpha doesn't just record numbers, he records growth. Because every rep completed, every temptation resisted, every early morning conquered adds to his silent record of discipline. Tracking also protects you from illusion. Many people think they're working hard, but they're only repeating motions. When you track, you can't hide behind effort. You measure effectiveness. You see what works and what doesn't. You stop wasting time on guesswork and start training with precision. The dedicated alpha doesn't brag about how much time he spends in the gym. He measures how much he progresses from it. Because hours mean nothing without results. A soldier without records can't see his victories. A lifter without tracking can't see his transformation. Writing things down, logging your performance, taking progress pictures, these are not for pride, but for awareness. They remind you of how far you've come and how far you can still go. The dedicated alpha doesn't rely on memory, he relies on measurement. He treats every session like a mission and every improvement like a victory earned through focus and discipline. Tracking progress also builds self-respect. It shows that you take your journey seriously. You're not guessing your way through life, you're building it with intention. Every record kept, every adjustment made, reflects maturity and commitment. You become organized, deliberate, and mindful. These habits spill into other areas of life: work, relationships, responsibilities. You realize that tracking fitness wasn't just about muscle growth. It was about developing structure and control in everything you do. When you track your progress like a soldier, you turn your fitness journey into a disciplined mission. You stop drifting from one workout to another and start attacking each session with clarity. You no longer depend on motivation, you depend on measurement. You don't need others to remind you of your growth. Your records speak for you. Because every log, every number, every note becomes evidence of your evolution, proof that you are not just training, you are transforming. The dedicated alpha doesn't walk into the gym just because he feels like it. He trains because he has a purpose. Emotion can be powerful, but it's unreliable. Some days you'll wake up fired up, ready to conquer every set. Other days, you'll feel drained, distracted, or unmotivated. But the dedicated alpha doesn't depend on how he feels. He depends on what he's committed to. Purpose drives him when passion fades. Purpose keeps him moving when motivation disappears. Because emotion comes and goes, but purpose endures like steel forged in fire. Training with purpose means knowing why you're doing what you're doing. You're not lifting weights just to look good. You're building strength, endurance, and resilience that reflects who you are. You're training to discipline your body so your mind follows. You're not just chasing a mirror image. you're shaping your character. Every lift, every rep, every drop of sweat is a declaration that you're becoming the man Allah intended you to be: strong, patient, and unwavering. When emotion leads, discipline breaks. But when purpose leads, progress becomes inevitable. The dedicated alpha understands that the gym is not about chasing moods. It's about mastering consistency. He doesn't allow frustration to ruin his focus or excitement to cloud his strategy. He treats every session as part of a greater mission. Even when the mind is tired or the body aches, the purpose whispers, "Keep going." That whisper is stronger than any wave of emotion. The man who trains on emotion quits when things get hard. But the one who trains on purpose fights through pain because he knows pain is part of the path. The dedicated alpha doesn't view discomfort as an obstacle. He views it as confirmation that he's moving forward. Emotion says, "Stop, this hurts." A purpose says, "Good, this means growth." This mindset shift is what separates those who fade from those who rise. It's not the loudest roar that wins. It's the silent, steady persistence that endures. Training with purpose also means training intelligently. You don't just throw weight around to look powerful. You execute every movement with intention. You focus on form, breathing, and control. You respect your body enough to train it correctly. The dedicated alpha doesn't train recklessly. He trains consciously, because every rep done with purpose builds power that's not only physical but mental. Purpose turns simple exercises into lessons in patience, balance, and awareness. Purpose also shields you from comparison. When you train with emotion, you're tempted to look around to compare your progress, your physique, your pace. But when you train with purpose, your eyes stay on your own path. You understand that no one else's timeline defines yours. You're not here to impress, you're here to improve. The dedicated alpha knows that his only competition is the man he was yesterday. That's why purpose creates peace in progress. It keeps you grounded and focused. Every time you step under a barbell or onto the treadmill, ask yourself, "Why am I here?" If your answer is clear, your energy will be controlled. Purpose gives direction to effort. It keeps you from wasting time and energy on distractions. The dedicated alpha doesn't chase short-term highs. He builds long-term strength. His training is not about fleeting emotion. It's about building a foundation that stands through time, challenges, and setbacks. Emotion wants results now. Purpose is patient. Emotion wants comfort. Purpose craves growth. The dedicated alpha learns to train through both fire and fatigue. When emotion says take it easy, purpose says stay sharp. When emotion says you've done enough, purpose says one more set. That internal conversation defines your destiny. Because every time you choose purpose over feeling, you sharpen your character, and that sharpness cuts through every obstacle ahead. The purpose-driven athlete finds power in the process itself. He doesn't need loud music or validation from others. His drive comes from within. He finds meaning in repetition, discipline, and sacrifice. He knows every drop of sweat is a seed planted for future strength. He's not training for applause. He's training for self-respect. The dedicated alpha recognizes that real satisfaction doesn't come from excitement, but from execution, from doing what needs to be done, regardless of mood or motivation. To train with purpose means to anchor your body, mind, and spirit in something greater than emotion. It means your workouts are not dictated by energy, but by conviction. It means showing up not because you feel ready, but because you are committed to becoming ready. The dedicated alpha rises above the emotional tides and trains like a soldier on a divine mission, grounded, focused, and unwavering no matter what the day brings. The dedicated alpha knows that the gym is not only a place of iron and sweat, it's a battlefield of the mind. Every workout begins long before the first rep. It begins in thought, in decision, in silence. The man who cannot control his thoughts will never control his performance. Because before you lift the weight with your body, you must lift it in your mind. The dedicated alpha doesn't step into the gym unsure or distracted. He enters with a clear mental state, focused, calm, and ready. His inner voice is his weapon, and he sharpens it daily. Mastering the mind means silencing the noise that weakens focus. It means quieting the doubts that whisper, "You can't," and replacing them with conviction that says, "Watch me." The dedicated alpha trains his mental strength the same way he trains his muscles, through repetition. He feeds his mind with positive input, with discipline, with reminders of his purpose, because he understands that a weak mind will always find an excuse, but a strong one will always find a way. Every time he feels like skipping the gym, the battle begins. It's not about laziness, it's about mastering the inner dialogue that justifies comfort. The dedicated alpha observes that moment, challenges it, and wins it. He knows that when you win that mental battle even once, you make it easier to win it again tomorrow. Mastery doesn't come from one victory. It comes from consistency in thought. Each day, the mind is trained to serve the mission, not the mood. The mind is like an untrained muscle. It resists control at first. It wanders, it complains, it creates limits. But the dedicated alpha disciplines it through focus. He learns to stay in the present moment during every rep, every breath, every lift. He doesn't let his mind drift to weakness or fear. Instead, he fills it with commands that move his body forward. One more rep. Stay strong, focus. These words are not just motivation. They are instructions from the commander within. Mastery of the mind also means managing emotions during training. The dedicated alpha doesn't allow anger, frustration, or ego to control his pace. He trains with intention, not aggression. He knows that a calm mind produces precise power, while a chaotic mind wastes it. When others lose focus or train recklessly out of emotion, he remains composed. His power lies not in intensity alone, but in control of breathing, movement, and thought. That control builds not only strength, but also wisdom. Before he lifts, he visualizes. He imagines the set completed, the form perfect, the weight conquered. Visualization is his mental warm-up. It prepares the nervous system for success. The dedicated alpha understands that the body believes what the mind repeats. If the mind expects failure, the body will follow. But if the mind commands victory, the body responds. That's why mastering thoughts is not optional, it's essential. The barbell is heavy, but doubt is heavier if you carry it. Mastering your mind also means being patient with progress. The dedicated alpha doesn't let frustration break focus. He knows that growth is not always visible, but it's always happening. The undisciplined mind wants instant results. The trained mind understands delayed reward. He builds his endurance through patience. Each session becomes a lesson in control, in humility, in quiet persistence. He doesn't chase quick wins. He builds unshakable foundation through mental stillness and trust in the process. Distractions are the enemy of mastery. Phones, noise, conversations. The dedicated alpha treats them as barriers between him and greatness. When he trains, the gym becomes sacred ground. He doesn't scroll between sets or wander between machines. He stays locked in. Every second of focus counts. Because he knows what many forget, that focus is a form of strength, and strength is a form of worship when done with pure intention and gratitude for health. Mastering the mind before the weight also means being humble. The dedicated alpha doesn't let pride dictate his training. He doesn't lift to impress, he lifts to progress. His confidence comes from control, not from showing off. He listens to his body, respects his limits, and learns to differentiate between real challenge and reckless ego. His mental mastery allows him to push hard without losing purpose. That balance is what transforms training into discipline and discipline into identity. The mind is the first muscle you must train and the last one you can afford to lose. Every thought becomes a signal to the body to rise or to retreat. The dedicated alpha knows that if he can control his thoughts, he can control his actions. And if he can control his actions, he can control his destiny. The iron doesn't respond to noise. It responds to focus. And before a single plate moves, victory must already be claimed in the mind that commands it. The dedicated alpha knows that the grind doesn't end when the workout ends. The grind continues in the hours after the last rep, when the muscles repair, when the body restores, when the mind regains focus. He understands that progress doesn't happen inside the gym. It happens after you leave it. The iron breaks you down, but recovery builds you up. And if you skip the recovery, you sabotage your own growth. Rest is not weakness, it's wisdom. The dedicated alpha respects the balance between effort and restoration. Recovery is not a sign of softness, it's a sign of intelligence. The same discipline that drives you to train must also guide you to rest. The dedicated alpha doesn't see recovery as a break from the mission. He sees it as part of the mission. Sleep, nutrition, hydration, these are not luxuries. They are weapons. Without them, strength fades, focus dulls, and progress stalls. Every serious athlete knows the body can't perform without proper repair, and the dedicated alpha treats that truth like law. When he rests, he doesn't feel guilty, he feels strategic. He understands that recovery is where muscles rebuild, hormones balance, and energy returns. It's where small tears turn into strength, where fatigue transforms into readiness. The dedicated alpha doesn't chase exhaustion for ego. He chases excellence through awareness. He knows overtraining leads to burnout, injury, and inconsistency. Things that destroy progress faster than laziness ever could. That's why he trains hard but recovers harder. Resting the body also means resting the mind. The dedicated alpha takes time to breathe, reflect, and reset his mental focus. Just like the body needs healing, the mind needs peace. A calm mind leads to better decisions, better form, better results. He disconnects from noise, from stress, from distractions, and reconnects with purpose. Because a strong body without a peaceful mind is like a sword without a steady hand, powerful but dangerous. Recovery keeps him sharp, centered, and in control. Nutrition is a form of recovery too. The dedicated alpha feeds his body with what fuels growth, not what satisfies craving. He sees food as building blocks, each meal a brick in the structure of strength. He doesn't poison his progress with carelessness. He understands that recovery is not just about lying down. It's about what you give your body to rebuild with. Protein, water, vitamins, rest, they are all part of the same mission. Every bite, every sip, every hour of sleep is a decision for progress. Stretching, mobility work, and light movement are also part of recovery. The dedicated alpha knows that staying still for too long stiffens the body and dulls performance. So he stays active even on rest days, not with intensity, but with intention. He takes care of his joints, muscles, and posture because he's not chasing temporary strength, he's building longevity. His goal isn't just to be strong now, it's to stay strong for life. That requires not just working hard, but recovering wisely. The dedicated alpha also guards his recovery environment. He doesn't fill his rest hours with chaos or negativity. He protects his sleep, his peace, his mental energy. He understands that recovery is sacred. It's when his body and mind recharge for the next battle. That means disconnecting from distractions, maintaining discipline even during downtime, and creating space where growth can continue quietly. Recovery isn't about doing nothing, it's about doing what restores. He studies his body's signals, soreness, fatigue, stiffness, not as complaints, but as communication. The dedicated alpha listens. He adjusts when needed, knowing that ignoring pain is not courage, it's carelessness. He trusts the process of rest as much as he trusts the process of work, because the two are one and the same. One breaks, the other builds. One tests, the other strengthens. Both are essential parts of transformation. Recovery also teaches humility. It reminds the dedicated alpha that even the strongest need rest, that the body has limits, and respecting those limits is not weakness, it's wisdom. The man who never rests eventually burns out. The man who rests with purpose sustains his strength for years. This understanding separates those who fade from those who endure. The dedicated alpha values endurance more than intensity. He doesn't seek to train harder for one day, he seeks to train smarter for a lifetime. True recovery is a mindset, a belief that stillness has power. It's in those quiet hours, away from the noise and pressure, that the body transforms and the mind regains its edge. The dedicated alpha doesn't rush that process. He embraces it as part of the grind, part of the discipline, part of becoming complete. Because recovery is not the opposite of work. It's the continuation of it. It's the hidden half of greatness that only the wise respect and only the disciplined truly master.